Hello, and welcome to another edition of Florida Sportsman Action Spotter Podcast. I'm Captain Rick Riles. Hey, we got kind of a neat thing planned tonight. We're going to make our usual trip from Costa Rica back to the northeast corner of Florida, all the way down the East Coast, all the way through the Keys, up the West Coast, and out the Panhandle, getting the latest fishing news. But I also got an email from a listener this week that said, hey, do me a favor and find out where the guys would fish if they didn't have their boats for a week. God, I tend to forget that we got a lot more people wading, fishing kayaks, fishing off bridges than we ever think about for those of us that have boats. So that's going to kind of be a theme for us this evening. Your boat won't start. You got to have fish for the family fish fry. What are you going to do? There will be no calling Long John Silver's. It's going to be a fun time. So sit back and pour yourself a cool drink. We'll check in on the action all around the state. The Florida Sportsman Action Spotter is brought to you by Yamaha. Reliability starts here. By Shimano, bringing people and nature together. By Tournament Master Chum. Oh, it's the best chum on earth. By Nosara Paradise Rentals, your dream vacation. By D.O.A. Lures, the unfair advantage. And by Young Boats. You want the finest in flat span offshore hybrids? You need to check out youngboats.com. All right, let's get it started. We'll check in paradise with one Craig Sutton. Craigie, how we doing?
Well, I'm good, Captain Ricky. Good. We're looking at that 56-pound rooster we caught last week.
Whoo! That's a good one. Is anybody
how
ever...
How about that big Dorado? Do you think that Dorado's over 50?
That's a fine one. I'm calling him a 50. I sure am.
I am too. I am too. They said he was well over 50.
Yeah, I'm calling him a 50. I think he makes it. Craigie, is anybody ever aged rooster fish? Do we know how old a 56-pound rooster is?
That's a good question. I don't believe so, but maybe the government. The government's so proactive in Costa Rica about their resources, especially the marine resources. I bet they probably have. But our rooster fishery, I don't think there's any place in the world that I've seen that you can consistently catch big roosters. And we do. I mean, a 30-pounder for us is a small one, where that's a big one in Mexico.
Oh, yeah.
But, we lose a lot of big ones. But plus we lose a lot of big caberas at the same time, too. But that rooster was a big one, that's for sure. But, David caught one last week that was maybe not quite as big as that, but he was a pretty good sized fish.
56.
Definitely a trophy fish.
56 is a big one. Wow, ain't no doubt about that. For anybody,
I caught one a couple Novembers ago, and we got the photo on the website. I had to stand on the cooler to get it from, it was from the bottom of my nose, just barely off the ground, standing on one of those 180 quart God coolers or igloo coolers.
To give everybody an idea how strong they are, if you took the strength of a Jack Crevalle and then you gave that broad side and that great big fin that a mahi has, that's almost not fair, is it?
Yeah, no, that's true. They turn sideways on you, but you got to fight on your hands.
No doubt.
It tests your tackle to the nth degree. It really does.
Any marlin last week?
Oh, yeah. We had a couple marlin days. No grand slams, though. But, these guys are getting 2 marlin and a sailfish and some critters by yellowfin tuna or nice Dorado mixed in. That's what's good about it. I mean, I don't, and I follow our competition and stuff, but we seem to have such a variety of catches on any given day. I guess it's just our area. But, I don't know about you, but I don't want to go out and catch 15, 20 sailfish and nothing else. I want to have something else that's in the rod, something to maybe take home and, eat dinner that night. But, and you take what the ocean gives you. But we seem to have a lot of variety. But, I'm not complaining. The bites. But our total for the year, we've got more marlin than we've got sailfish.
Craig,
quite a bit more.
It's funny, and everybody's personality is different. We grew up with the sailfish as the ultimate, and it was a big deal. I mean, when we got one, it was a real big deal. And I have always loved them, and I've been blessed to fish for them most of my life. And I've never been to some of these places, the Dominican Republic, where where you rack up these massive numbers. I think it was our buddy Dave Workman that broke 100 in a day and that type stuff. And I've never wanted to because I love the variety and I love them being a big deal. I'm scared if I catch 120 in a day, I'm not going to want to catch anymore. You understand?
Yeah, and I'm with you on that too. But, racking up big numbers, it's just not me. And those fish that they do the snatch release on, well, you can do whatever you feel like you want to do, and I'm not going to hate on you, but that hurts a lot of fish, buddy. Those snatch releases, breaking those leaders and the hook and leaving the hook, part of the hook in the fish's mouth or whatever ends up, it hurts those fish. And for us, I know our numbers are skewed because we pull the hook out, we revive the fish, we make sure he's good, healthy condition, and we let him go. But, and to each his own. But, I those fighting sailfish for 45 seconds or a minute, it's just I don't know. I guess some people call it fun, but it's not my idea of fun.
Well, I'm going to tell you one quick thing right now. Every customer you have that is caught a sailfish, which is a huge percentage of your customers, has got that picture on their refrigerator back home. I know I do. I know I've got my picture of my stepson with his big fish along the side. Your guys have gotten excellent with their cameras. They've got excellent with having the fish at the right angle. Those pictures cannot be duplicated, and I'm with you. I want catching the fish to be a big event, and I want the people to enjoy it to the max, and that involves getting a great picture with their fish still in the water.
Yeah, absolutely. Those hero shots are done for us.
That's
but
over.
But you know what those guys do? They're very good at taking pictures. I mean, there's a reason why Florida Sportsman magazine has published several of our photos because they come out. They're really talented at taking pictures.
No doubt. Craigie, as always, we appreciate it. Please tell me we can talk to you next week.
I look forward to it, Ricky.
Our thanks to Craig Sutton, but you know what that means. Time to hit Northeast Florida and one Captain David Voorhees. David, how are you?
Hey, man, I'm doing good, Ricky.
Good. I'm glad to hear it. Not so much today because I know it's cold today, but tell me how your week's been fishing-wise.
It's been absolutely fantastic. Everything that I enjoy, that I like, sort of lined up this week as far as the tide goes, as far as everything goes. And, of course, the bite was really outstanding. And most everybody I talked to this week really did good when they got out and fished. Every day this week, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I should say every day of the weekend, we got on some really good reds this week and saw some really nice schools too. As far as water temperature, it definitely is up, Rick. We're seeing 65 and above this week. Now, I don't know what this cold front we got today is going to do. I don't think it's going to change anything because we're back warm in another couple of days. I think we've seen the last of the cold weather. However, I think the water temperature is going to continue to rise. And with that, we'll see the water not as clear as we have been in the cold water. But we're going to see fish actually becoming a little bit more active. Caught a couple more different species this week, which is usually the sure sign of spring, and then again summer, you start seeing other species start to move in. One thing I do like about wintertime fishing is that normally we're just seeing our redfish, our trout, and our flounder, and we'll get sheephead and black drum. But, you don't get any of the non-desirable fish that we tend to catch, your jacks, your ladyfish. Those fish tend to be, long gone. But I'll tell you something I did see this week that really surprised me is I actually saw some very young tarpon actually rolling in a deep hole near the boat.
I'll be darned. How about that?
Yep.
They survived another winter, didn't they?
Yep, and it just happens to be the same area that I've been seeing the snook. So, it was pretty neat to see the tarpon. I thought those guys were out of there, but no, they were still around. If you recall, I did catch a tarpon in November this year, and even though it was a baby one, it was still a tarpon.
Hey, Dave, I got a question. I got a question for you.
Okay.
All right. You got a family reunion planned. Everybody's coming over to eat fish at Uncle Dave's. The boat won't start. All right. You have to go catch fish without your boat. This really came from, we had an email this week that said, do me a favor, find out where the guys in their area would fish without a boat. Where are you going to go get the fish for your fish fry?
You know, that's a really good one for Northeast Florida because, you know, I growing up on the Gulf Coast, we did a lot of wade fishing around Biloxi, Mississippi. There was a lot of places to wade. You could walk. Those are good hard bottom. But, you know, there's very few places. Now, there are some good places to wade around here and wade fish, but you got to be very careful. There's a lot of soft bottoms around here. And there's not a lot of really good parks, I should say, or places to go. I would have to go with the beach, you know, fishing the surf. I think the best fishing that Northeast Florida has by land would probably be, you know, the beach areas, you know, fishing either the pier once that eventually gets open. But I think if I was a landlocked fisherman here in Northeast Florida, I'd probably really get into the surf fishing. And there's an art to it. And certain times of the year, it can get really good with a pompano and the whiting. And occasionally there's places where you're going to catch reds and other drums. And so it would definitely be surf fishing for me.
Well, I got to tell you, it's funny you say that. Roger Walker and his girlfriend went to the surf yesterday on that beautiful day, and they had 30 big fat whiting. That'd feed a lot of people. That's some serious good eating right there. So I'm with you. I think for Northeast Florida, the surf takes it. If I had to do a second place, I would probably say that George Crady Bridge over Nassau Sound, which is almost fishing the surf. You're fishing right near the mouth of Nassau Sound. So there's been a lot of whiting reeled up off of that pier, I guarantee you.
Yep, absolutely, Rick. Yep.
All right, David, thank you. We appreciate it. Please tell me we can check with you next week.
Absolutely. Looking forward to it, Rick.
Captain David Borey is checking in from Northeast Florida. That means it's time to go to Stewart, my very favorite fishing village, and talk with one Captain John Earhart. John, how are you?
I'm good. Glad to be here, Rick.
I'm glad to have you, buddy. How's your fishing down there, boy? It turned wintertime up here again today.
Yeah, I mean we've had a little bit of rougher weather conditions, so it's made it a little difficult to get out there. But you know, we've still been getting mahi in about 90 feet of water. We've been catching a few sailfish. You know, it's been hit or miss. I mean, we're averaging 2 to 10 bites a day. You know,
okay.
We get 2 or 3 sailfish a day. There's been a couple wahoo mixed in, so definitely run a wire leader if you got it. And, you know, we've been catching kingfish in a little bit shallower, and it seems like the snapper fishing's kind of picked up this week, too. We're catching a lot of mutton snappers, mangroves, some big lane snappers, which I typically expect to see that, you know, late February. So, I mean, if the trolling's kind of slow, you know, you can stop in 50 to 70 foot of water on the way in and do a little bottom fishing. Expect to catch some kingfish, maybe a cobia, you know, and enough snapper to fill the box and take something home to eat.
Jim, I'm sorry, John. John, I have fished February out of Stewart for a lot of years, and here we roll into the 1st of March. You are really been quiet, or you have really been quiet about cobia. What's the deal?
It just seems like it's been hard to get out there and get on them, and they just haven't showed up yet. You know, as soon as I start seeing those greenies real thick on the beach, it seems like all of a sudden the cobia show up, and you can catch them on those near shore reefs. You know, I'm thinking in another 4 or 5 days, I'm going to be sending you a lot of pictures of cobia.
I hope so. Hey, I got a question for you. If you had to have fish for a family reunion tomorrow night, and all of a sudden your boat wouldn't start, where would you go catch it?
I'd probably go down to the Stewart Causeway or the Jensen Causeway, and I'd have a Doc Scoopy jig or a TNA wacky jig on, and I'd try and catch a limit of pompano because they're pretty plentiful right now, and I wouldn't even need any live bait or dead bait. I just need a couple artificials and maybe a couple hours spent on the bridge, and I'm going to catch something to eat.
You think you could limit off the bridge with a goofy jig? How about that? I tell you what, I better head to the Stewart Causeway. That is great advice. We had one of our regular listeners email me this week and say, hey, Cap, how about asking the guys where they'd fish if they didn't have their boats for a day? So now I know. John, we appreciate your report as always. We look forward to talking with you next week.
Yes, sir. Look forward to it.
Captain John Earhart from Stewart, Florida. Before we head on down south, let's get a word from D.O.A. Hey, I don't have to tell you it's cold outside, and that means, just like the great fish always do, the biggest and baddest of so many fish we fish for will be holding in deeper water in an attempt to warm up. You name it. If it feeds deeper in the water column, it cannot refuse a D.O.A. terrorize. It dives straight down and crawls across the bottom with an action that no deep feeder can resist. Whether it's a crappie deep under some lily pads or a tarpon rooting around the bridge pylons, D.O.A. makes a size and color terrorize fish just can't say no to. Flashing that big bright eye in front of any bottom-feeding game fish is just unfair. Maybe that's why they call D.O.A. lures the unfair advantage. Time to hit South Beach. That's where the mayor himself, Miss Captain Alan Sherman, is waiting. Alan, how you doing?
Rick, I'm doing great. And yourself?
Good, good. How's the end of February treating Miami's fishermen?
Well, the weather's great. I mean, it's almost summer-like. I think spring's coming early, and maybe the spring fishing's going to follow suit as well. Today, it was a little bit on the slow side offshore for some. Other guys just did really, really well. I had a charter today, and we probably covered 40 miles fishing inshore and offshore, and we really mixed it up and had a banner day. Nothing gigantic, but except for some sea trout. We had some really nice sea trout today, which isn't a fish that we catch too much anymore, but you know, I think the fish are getting ready to spawn, and they schooled up on some parts of North Bay's flats, and we were catching them on live pilchards and artificials. They were just snapping. A few of the fish, probably one was maybe 20, 21 inches.
Good fish.
The others were 14 to 18 inches as well. So, you know, for me, that's a great fish. I'm glad to see them around. We luckily were able to release them all, so they're still out there, and look forward to catching a bunch more in the near future. But otherwise, we did some bottom fishing and some patch reefs, and we caught lane, yellowtail, mutton snappers, mangrove snappers. We had yellow jacks. What else do we have? Red groupers, and we did some offshore fishing. I went looking for some dolphin. The water was gorgeous. A little rip on the right around the 140-foot range, but the water didn't look real good, and there was nothing further offshore as far as I could see. But I know some of the guys caught sailfish today. So there's some sailfish. A few big kingfish are showing up, like some in the 40, 45-pound range. And, of course, there's some bonitas and some blackfin tunas as well. On the bottom, the guys fishing the wrecks, they're getting some yellowtails, muttons, and amberjacks as well, and a few blackfin tunas over the wrecks. So there's some fishing to be done. I think the coolest thing is the weather's so nice.
I tell you what, you wouldn't want to be up here tonight, one Alan Sherman. It is 49 degrees, raining and blowing 30 knots out of the north. So be glad you're not up this way. Hey, I got a question for you.
Sure.
You got to have fish for a fish fry tomorrow night, and the boat won't start. Where in your area can you catch fish without a boat?
Well, that's a tough one, Rick. There's not a lot of places to shoreline fish anymore. You know, I guess you could hit the beaches and get, take a shot at catching some snook, maybe a pompano, but you got to be there before the lifeguards get out, because as soon as they do, they're going to chase you off.
Wow.
We have, 2 or 3, off, beachside piers, and you can fish off of them and try your luck at Spanish mackerel, bluefish. 2 fish I don't care that much to eat, but if you're in a pinch, Other than that, there's not a lot of seawalls. There's one down in Key Biscayne off of Cape Florida you can fish off of. You might get into some snapper fishing, but otherwise, I think you got to get out in the ocean somewhere. If you're in a pinch and you need some fish, so you're gonna have to call a friend who's got a boat and do some maybe chicken rigging for lane snappers, vermilion snappers, maybe some yellow eye snappers. You get a day when the current's not strong and you can fish the wrecks in 100 to 260, 280 feet of water. And usually you can get enough fish, to feed a group of people. And that's what I would do.
Well, I tell you, I guess in your situation, you'd be making the 911 call to Long John Silver. So that's
it's either that or the freezer.
I think I'm glad I live in Northeast Florida. Thank you, Cap Mallon. We appreciate it. We look forward to talking to you next week.
Good enough. Talk to you there.
Cap Mallon Sherman. That means it's time to go to Kokomo and check in with one Captain Bean Storin. Brandon, how are you?
I'm great, Rick. How are we doing?
Doing excellent. Any fishing going on in the Keys?
Absolutely. Always fishing going on in the Keys.
What are they catching?
Oh, well, you know what? It's about that time. It's about tarpon time. So that's pretty much what I'm starting to shift my gears towards. We've been connecting with a few good tarpon, and when people want something to eat for the other part of the day, kind of get the light rods out and catch like some sea trout or mango snapper to eat. So that was going on in the backcountry, a little dinner and show action.
Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. Listen, I got a question for you. If you're in the Keys and you don't have access to a boat, where can you go catch fish?
Man, you can go right there to Channel 2 Bridge. It's the old bridge down here, and they made a public fishing pier, and you can catch a lot of good fish there. I mean, fish always live by the bridge. It's got structure, it's got water flow, so that will definitely be the move.
I see. What bridge is that again?
Channel 2 Bridge.
The Channel 2 Bridge. Okay, right there in Alamorada, huh?
Absolutely.
What are they going to catch? What are they going to catch?
Man, who knows what can go through there, but there's always some snappers, like some mangroves or maybe some muttons. Some groupers live there. And also tarpon are always around the bridges as well. You can catch some mackerel or yellow jacks. Just a wide variety of fish that, would travel from the bayside to the ocean or vice versa.
Gotcha. Okay. That's outstanding, Bean. We appreciate it so much. Please tell me we can check with you next week.
Always.
All right, buddy. Captain Brandon Storin from down in Alamorada, Florida. Now let's head on over to 10,000 Islands, check in one Steve Dahl. Steve, how are you?
I'm great, Rick. How are you?
I'm doing fine. How's your fishing?
It's marginal. We've had a lot of good reports here in the last few months, and this past week it's been a little just
I tell you what, I appreciate hearing that from you more than you know, because your fishing's usually so good, and maybe some people might get skeptical about how good your fishing is, but then lo and behold, you're there to tell us when it's not good too.
Well, it is. I mean, we have our good days, and we're, it just seems like this past week we've had a bit of run of slow, we got the new moon here, and you think that would just charge them up. It's my favorite moon to fish, and we're just not catching them like we should be. And the nearshore offshore game has been just okay. I think a lot of those big 4 to 6 pound sheep's head, those big female fish are either been caught or have moved on, and our water temperatures are climbing rapidly, and so we had this really low water temperatures, and followed by probably we're in the kind of the back end of it's probably like a 14-day kind of heat wave, if you will, and it's really accelerated our water temperatures back up. So I don't know if that's kind of keeping them in flux, but there's still fish to be caught. Don't get me wrong. It's we are blessed. 10,000 Islands generally fishes very, very well. Lots of places to get out of traffic and hide, and certainly a lot of places for fish to do that. But the backcountry is certainly fishing a lot better than the nearshore and offshore waters by us. And the redfish have definitely been on point.
They're certainly not bunched up this time of year, but if you have a milker on a spot, you're certainly going to catch them. Higher tide stages have been doing, significantly better than the lowers. But on the lower tide stages, you're saved because the trout are, doing very well on low tides in deeper pockets, deeper holes. The area passes. So that's you can make a whole day of that. And, in the mix, obviously, with the redfish are going to be snook. Pilchards are somewhat spotty. Some of those a little bit offshore, near shore type of, dynamic. We're not finding as many on the beaches as we have been seeing, but bait's still available. You just got to work a little bit harder. We're spoiled. We got to work a little bit harder for our bait right now. It's still good fishing. It's just not typical 10,000 Islands wintertime fishing.
It's not easy. Yeah, it's usually easy. It's not easy. Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably the best way to put it. It's just you got to really work for it and put in your time. So,
if you got any places around there to catch fish, if you don't have a boat,
there is. It depends on the time of year. May and June, even parts of April. I'm anticipating April actually being a good month, but April, May, June, our snook fishing off the beach is incredible, and you can sight cast, snook all day long. The nice part is it's kind of after Easter. Our seasonal traffic is down. The beaches aren't crowded. It's something you can get in, throw a rod or two in the car, drive to one of the area beaches, and you can walk those beaches before work. Sun up till you got to, get that cup of coffee to go to work, and you can sight cast snook pretty much for 60 days straight. And it is fun.
That is beyond cool, what that is, Steve Dahl. Thank you so much, my buddy. I hope we talk to you again soon.
You know what Yamaha Outboards love? The genuine formula and consistency of Yamalube marine engine oils. Outboards are subjected to punishing conditions like high loads, salt, and humidity, a mix that automotive oils can't handle. Yamalube full synthetic and marine performance formulas are certified to protect against friction and corrosion for reliable performance every time. Find Yamalube marine oils at your nearest Yamaha Outboard dealer. Locate them at yamahaaoutboards.com/dealers. Yamaha, reliability starts here.
Hey, Raj, being consistent is the mark of a quality product. If you've been Florida's #1 chum for over 10 years, there's got to be a reason.
For 10 years, Tournament Master Chum has lived up to his name. That's why more tournament pros insist on Tournament Master than any other chum. It's the only chum with menhaden milk mixed right in. That means it gets the scent out faster and deeper than any other brand of chum. It comes in a grind size for every species from kingfish to catching bait. Your fishing time is way too precious to you second-rate chum. Bring the action to you by insisting on Tournament Master Chum. It's worth every penny.
When you're ready for the finest in custom-made flat spay or inshore-offshore hybrids, you are ready to meet the Young family in Inglis, Florida. For over 21 years, the Young family has built custom boats one at a time for every type of fishing. Nothing can sneak up on a flat quite like the Gulf Shore flats boats, and I've never fished a better hybrid than the Young 24s and 27s. Rob Young is a naval architect who takes tremendous pride in each and every build for each and every customer that wants their boat custom built exactly the way they want it. Is it time for you to move up? Are you ready to own the finest boat built? Then you need to visit the Young Boat facility in Inglis, Florida, or check them out online at youngboats.com. I appreciate it when the guys say that their fishing's been slow, because that's how you, the listener, knows that these guys are all straight up. And Steve said, quite honestly, the last week or so, the bait's been tough. The fishing's been slow. Let's move up to Southwest Florida, and check in with one Greg Stamper and see what he has to say about it. How we doing, Greg?
I'm doing very good, Rick. And yeah, the bait has been tough, but if you're buying things like shrimp and you're using cut bait, and the guys in the nearshore waters are using crabs that they've caught at night, you got to put the work in. And those guys going offshore, they can buy the frozen stuff. It's been really, really good.
Huh. All right. For what?
All right. Well, we'll start with the offshore. The guys that are coming in from the offshore bite, they're catching a lot of nice mangrove snapper, not giants. These are like 1 to 2 and maybe 3 pound fish. a few fish that are thrown in there, maybe 4, 5, or 6 pounds. Nothing crazy, but the red grouper bite for those guys has been off the chain. Now, they are going out to about 120 feet, Rick. We're talking about 45 miles, give or take, depending on which direction you go. But they're crushing them. I just got off the water today, and the guys were cleaning fish that were, I don't know, 15 pounds. These are nice reds.
Oof, that is good red grouper.
Yep. Now, the nearshore has been all about permit and cobia. The cobia have come in full speed. These guys are out there. They're free-lining crabs. They're catching their permit. There's a lot of permit out there. They're in big schools. They do move around, but they're finding them. When they find them, they're there. They're easy pickings, and it's a lot of fun for clients. The cool part is these cobia are coming up. They're not even really on the wreck. These guys are sometimes a half a mile away, and they're finding schools of cobia that are 15 to 20, maybe more of them in a group. And then, if you get 15 to 20 cobia, Rick, you know how aggressive they are. They're competing, and they're coming back with a cobia every day, and they're letting a ton of them go.
We have worked our way all the way down the East Coast, through Islamorada, all the way up the West Coast as far as you, and I have yet to hear the word triple tail. It's the 1st of March. Where are our triple tail?
Okay, so I can tell you about that. We have a lot of triple tail right now. There are a lot of small ones, though, Rick. And, like the guys that do it all the time, when I go triple tailing, we're very selective. Like, I'll stop with a client, and the first triple tail I'll see, I'll teach you, like, what we're going to do. And then we'll catch the fish, and it might be, whatever. It could be small. It could be 12 inches. It could be 15 inches. But that's a small triple tail. But after that, I say, you know what? We're not going to stop for small ones. We're only going to look for big ones. And, you have to run so many trap lines to find them. And you don't know if somebody's already been on it. You don't know if the crabber himself has already been right in front of you. So you kind of have to lay the patchwork and get lucky. Occasionally, you get on a trap line where you're like, there's a lot of triple tail on here, multiple fish, and you catch some really good ones. We haven't had a great triple tail season here. I personally have not put much time into it. I've been too busy in the backcountry, Rick, and I'll tell you about that next because it's going off.
All right, what's happening in the backcountry?
All right, so here we go. Tarpon is beginning now. Now, the fish we're seeing, I still truly believe they are our local fish coming out exploring, but I have seen multiple big tarpon over certain areas from Wiggins Pass in my area all the way up to about Redfish Pass. That's as far as I've been this week, but I've seen fish. They seem to be cruising around, looking to see what's going on, and they're eating. Even this morning, I was going at the bridge right by my marina, and I saw a tarpon roll. But there's not enough that I'm going to commit to doing it. Now, here's what I can tell you, Rick, and you're going to love this word. The pompano bite has gone off. It's going to be even better next week. And moving forward, you're going to hear a lot more about pompano.
Oh, that's really good. Yeah, that's really good. I'm glad it got cold enough to push him down that far. It really didn't on the East Coast.
Well, we're in it now. We caught a lot of pompano even today. We caught a lot of pompano just pulling off of some of these bars and just if you have a sandbar, Rick, where the water is ripping across it and it's dumping into a deeper area, they're just staging up. Unfortunately, today I had 2 pompano that got eaten by black tips.
Ooh.
And all we got to bring back to the boat were head. But they're there. They're going to start going crazy, and I cannot wait for the next month. The next month is going to be insane for pompano. I can promise everybody out there, just throw a jig, no hair on it, with a little tiny piece of shrimp, not even the size of your thumbnail, and just twitch constantly. Do not stop. Don't hesitate. Don't let it hit the bottom. you're going to get your pompano. I promise you that. The redfish, Rick, today, yesterday, and 2 days ago, yeah, that's about right. Outstanding.
Good.
Our water is still totally mucked up, but cut bait, the ladyfish, again, we go back to ladyfish. You can use mullet, other things, has totally got the job done. We got one today that was almost 15 pounds. And in the back bays where I am, that's a huge fish. I would have thought that fish would have already said, I'm going to go out there and hang out with those big bull reds that are cruising up and down the shores. But he was still back in our neighborhood.
And we have found in Northeast Florida, Greg, the bigger ones are staying longer every year. We're we're just like you. We're seeing fish on the flats that are 15, 18 pounds. And it's really surprising. It's a lot of fun. Hey, Cap, as always, we appreciate it so much. And let me ask you a quick question before you go. Is there places where you live to catch fish without a boat?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, we do a lot of wading. We got places off the Sanibel Causeway. We got places even off of Pine Island where you can, if you look on Google Maps, you can figure out how to get there. And you can walk out and wade in waters that, you should plan it on the tides. That could be a foot to 2 feet. Rick, personally for me, when I get to about waist deep, I'm like, all right, this is about as far as I want to go. But there are lots of places around here we can wade fish and catch tons of trout, redfish. And if you are stealthy and just walk the shorelines, you can pick up snook.
Good deal. Good deal. Thanks, Cap. We appreciate it as always. We'll look forward to talking to you next week.
You got it, Rick. Tight line.
Thanks, Greg. Hey, before we go anywhere, let's get a word from Shimano. There's one thing just about all our podcasters have in common. We all rely on Shimano gear when the day is on the line. Whether it's Jim Ross chasing a tarpon with a Saragusa spinner, Alan Sherman catching muttons on his bait runners, Shimano gear is everywhere in Florida. You see, Shimano builds a reel for every fish that swims in Florida, and it seems like every year they come out with new models with names that take me 6 months to be able to pronounce. But you know what? There's also a few models that have stood the test of time and stand at the top of the brand even today. If I'm fishing an inshore spinner, be it fresh or salt, you can count on the fact I'm throwing a Shimano Stratic. That's because it's just been around the block and it never fails. And if there's a blue water boat looking for a sea monster, I can almost promise you there's a Shimano Tiagra pulling the big fish baits. Why do the best blue water guys count on Tiagras year after year? For the same reason I always throw a Stratic when I need to hook a redfish for my granddaughter. Because when the best day is on the line, you can count on the time-tested Tiagras and Stratics from Shimano. Time for West Central. That means it's time for Ray Markham. Raymond, how we doing?
Yes, sir. Just cleaning up the shotgun from a previous squirrel trip.
Oh, that's when you and Captain Tony shot against each other, right?
Well, yes. Actually, he took 4 shots to hit 3 squirrels, and I only took 2 shots to take 2 squirrels.
He doesn't tell it that way. All he says is he shot more squirrels than you did.
Well, that is the absolute truth.
Okay.
While he sat there and was shaking the tree trying to get that poor little defenseless squirrel out of its nest.
Stop it. You're going to get us thrown off the air. Knock it off.
That's all right. It was a lot of fun.
Tell me about your fishing.
I'll tell you something. Things are happening that shouldn't be happening, but they're happening anyway, regardless of what anybody thinks. I've heard more than a handful of reports in the last 2 to 2.5 weeks that we've got permits on nearshore wrecks.
How about that? That's pretty cool.
Yes. I mean, it's usually not for another couple of months, but seems like everybody seems to be getting them, the ones that actually know that they're around. It's been pretty tight-lipped, and any of the pictures that I've seen, I can't guarantee they're this week's pictures. You know what I'm saying?
Uh-huh.
So it's early, but reports are saying they're real finicky and they're eating crabs. And it's just a certain size crab, certain kind of crab. And they're all just ganging up to eat it. And what's really funny is I talked to a couple of my buddies that are they're old salts. They've been fishing all their lives. they took some newbies out, and the newbies were the ones that were catching all the permit.
That's funny. Now, if all the stories I hear are right, the crabs you're referring to are called pass crabs. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. But,
now, you see the way I look at it, there's a lot of people that call things a lot of different things, and they'll say actually a scale sardine, they'll call it a greenback when it's not. A greenback is technically a threadfin herring. So I mean, you got a lot of slang stuff going on. So pass crab can mean anything from a calico crab to a blue crab, or whatever else they see floating around out there. So whatever they're calling a pass crab is, that's what they're eating, and they're probably 3 inches across the carapace. They're real finicky, and I think it's got something to do with size. So, but the fish they're catching are anywhere from 6 to about 17 pounds.
Ooh, that's good ones.
So they're not little ones. They're nice fish.
No.
So
to me, we've had a very big surprise this week. We've worked our way all the way down the East Coast and almost all the way up the West Coast now. Not any good news on triple tail at all. You heard anything?
I think a lot of people are kind of shifting their attention to other things right now. I honestly have not heard a lot of people talking about triple tail. We've got sometime in May when the stone crab traps come out of the water. So they still got some time to go out and plug them. Because, I mean, those stone crab traps, if the guys are working them on a regular basis like they should, they're always going to have some fresh bait in it. And that bait draws a lot of fish. And it's not just triple tail that come to hang around the trap lines and the floats, but it's kingfish and it's Spanish mackerel and barracuda. It's everything else. Because the guys are catching some monster Spanish right now, 4 to 6 pounds. And that's not necessarily unusual, but 70-plus degree water temperature is kind of unusual for February. So we got an early spring coming, and I got a feeling we're going to have a hellacious good run of mackerel. So.
Well, I hope you're right. It certainly seems to be shaping up that way. Hey, Ray, where can somebody go in your area to catch fish without a boat?
Well, actually, there's a lot of places that are good. Probably some of the best are around the Gulf beaches, the Fort DeSoto piers. There's 2 piers out there. Actually, you can go along the beaches. The North Beach is typically good around Bunce's Pass. If they go out on the Skyway fishing piers, they're 2 of the longest fishing piers in the U.S., I do believe. And they've got everything from mangrove snapper to grouper and grunts and mackerel and snook and trout and a little bit of everything, because they have some artificial reefs just about within casting distance of each of the piers. So lots of rubble from the old Skyway that they pulled down out of the center span, so there's plenty of places for fish to hide.
Gotcha. Excellent report. Thank you, Ray. Please tell me we can check with you next week.
Yes, sir. We'll talk to you then.
Captain Ray Markham from West Central. That means it's time to talk to the mayor of Homosassa, one William Toney. William, I got to tell you, Ray Markham's story is all about you missing a squirrel and how he killed a squirrel with every shot and you did not. Is that true?
It is true. He did get 2 squirrels, but if I remember right, I got 5 and it took 6 shots. So I think, I did miss one.
See,
but he only shot 2, so it's kind of hard to miss when that was your number.
The story he tells is you got 3 and 5 shots. So I
man! Wait till this Facebook rant comes out. Oh boy, it's going to be a big one.
Am I the only fisherman that never stretched the truth? That's the only.
Well, yeah. No, you are not, Rick. I guarantee you are not the one that stretched it. I mean, we're all, anglers, hunters, everything. You know what I thought funny, when you walk into a Bass Pro Shop, over the top of the door it says, "Welcome hunters, fishermen, and other liars."
Yeah, that's true. That would describe us to a T. Tell me how your fishing's been, William.
Fishing has been fantastic. We are right on par of it just being a fantastic spring.
Good.
We've had some very, very good warm weather days and actually some really good tides. But what I'm finding right now, is crazy stuff with gas prices, which this good fishery right here on the Big Bend could play into your hands by saving yourself a lot of running. So I'm getting majority of my fish all within about a half a mile stretch. So the most gas I'm burning is just getting to that area. And what I do, I'm getting my trout and my redfish right in the same area. So, if you plan that, you could save a little bit of price bump there when you get back in and not have to run a long ways. Now, a little bit different now, if you're still pursuing the sheep's head and hogfish offshore, of course, you're going to have to be burning some fuel. But inshore anglers, you can save a little bit of gas. I'm finding most of my trout on broken bottom and rocky points when the incoming tide's, covering those rocks. Still catching them on a D.O.A. 5.5 glow jerkbait. Redfish, they've been responding better to, believe it or not, cut pinfish, of all things. I can put a shrimp in there. Our water temperatures have gotten up into the mid to upper 60s, so the pinfish are back in force. The shrimp is not lasting long, but a pinfish cut in half, thrown out there, they've been sucking up really good. But the big thing we're looking for this week is snook season opening up. So, that's coming here very soon. Actually, this week.
Well, that's something. Now, let me ask you a question. You keep mentioning that 5.5 jerkbait from D.O.A., and all you're doing with that thing is putting a number 3 live bait hook or a 3/0 live bait hook right through the head of it?
Absolutely. Some people, it was a long time ago, back in the Stone Ages, we had those bait keeper style hooks, which are basically for bass fishermen. Had a little bit, it's like a 1/32 ounce weight with like a double prong type of thing that goes right in the nose of the bait. And then you would weedless hook it like you would for a bass lure.
Okay.
But what I found with a lot of my anglers, by using that, we lost a lot of trout because it took a little bit, just like a bass has to wind that bait up in his mouth before you set the hook. I had a lot of people, especially trout fishing, when you watch them hit it, would yank that bait right out of their mouth. So we come up with the idea one day, sitting around a shop at my buddy's place called the Outcast Tackle Shop, and tried to nose hook. And the technique worked really well because that hook's exposed. As soon as that trout or whatever fish hits it, that hook's exposed, and you can set it just right away, especially sight casted fish. But there's 2 other good points about the bait: having a loop knot at the eye of the hook, and also where the hook is in the bait gives it 2 pivot points, which gives it some really good action. You don't really do anything except just twitch your rod tip. I always tell people twitch and let it pause, and it really swims well. And usually as it falls, like the other day, we had 4 to 5 trout at a time following the bait, and all you did was once they got behind it, you're just like leading them like a puppy dog. You just let it fall, and one would just come over. You just see him flare his mouth open, and the bait was gone, and you hook the fish. It works really well here on the Big Bend.
Sweet. That's a great tip. Hey, William, before you go, you got any places around there people can fish without a boat?
Absolutely. The Big Bend has a myriad of places to bank fish. And normally your best fishing off the bank in our area is going to be in the winter months when it pushes the fish back up into the rivers. And, that's when you have the best luck. But I tell you what, I have fished all along Citrus County. There's tons of places. But even to our north, when you get up towards Cedar Key, there's a wonderful pier up there that they catch a lot of fish on right there in downtown Cedar Key. You can just walk to lunch. You can fish all day on the pier. Now you get a little bit further north up toward Keaton Beach and Steenahatchee. One of my favorite wading places right on the Gulf out there is called Hagen's Cove. And I love Hagen's Cove because you can walk out there for miles, it seems, and it's only knee to waist deep. And that's on high tide. So you can catch trout and redfish out there at Hagen's Cove. All you got to do is drive up. If you want to put a kayak in or something like that, you certainly can, but you don't really need it. You can just get out there with your vest on or a fishing float with your tackle and get on out there and have a good time. So, there's lots of good places. I can tell you, if you go to a local tackle shop up and down the Big Bend,
You get in there and strike up a conversation, and people open up to you here, and will lead you in the right direction to get that good bait fishing and know where to go.
Excellent. Excellent. William, as always, we appreciate it so much. Please tell me we can talk with you next week.
I'll be right here in downtown Homosassa, where the sand gnats are thick as fleas on a hound dog.
All right. Thank you, Cap.
All right. Talk to you next week.
You got it. Our thanks to William Toney for a great report from the Big Bend. Now it's time to head into Northwest Florida and check with Captain Kevin Lanier. Kevin, how are you?
Hey, Captain Rick, we're doing just peachy tonight. How about yourself?
Good. Much fishing going on this week?
Yeah, there's been quite a bit of fishing going on this week. Some guys are venturing offshore. Guys to the west of us are getting into some yellowfin tuna.
Oh, good.
There's been some big black snapper caught. I had a guy call me. I'm waiting on the picture. It was 26-inch black snapper.
That's a big mangrove. Sure is.
That is a big mangrove snapper.
What's he going to weigh?
So I'm waiting on the picture.
Is he going to go 10? 10 or 11, I would think.
Yeah, I think he's probably going to be right around 10 pounds.
Yeah.
I think that, and that's really exciting. And they said they got a couple just smaller than that one, but they said biggest mangroves he's seen.
That's a good one. Anything going on inshore?
Yeah, inshore, sheepshead are really starting to show themselves around here. The redfish and the trout. They're trout's catch and release right now. Redfish, they're a little spotty, but they are catching them. Pompano are still a little bit slow on the show, and Pompano are starting to show as well. And I meant Spanish mackerel are just starting to show. That's about where we're at.
I see. We made the whole trip around the state. I'll say it one more time. We made the whole trip around the state without hearing a word about triple tail. You heard much?
Yeah. Probably didn't hear much about weather either.
Well, that could be, yeah.
No, still early for triple tail. Water's cold.
Okay.
We don't see many triple tail this time of year around here.
Okay. All right, Cap, we appreciate it, and I look forward to talking to you next week.
Hey, Captain Rick, we look forward to it as always, and we will talk to you next week.
All right, Kevin. God bless. We appreciate it. Our thanks to Kevin Lanier for a great report. Said the sheepshead are still biting, and they're catching some yellowfin tuna out to the west of him. That must be almost in Tyler Massey category. Tyler, you seen any yellowfin tuna out that way in Destin?
I haven't personally seen them, but we do have the reports. People are catching them.
Good.
The area that they catch the tuna from Pensacola Pass is about 110 miles.
Uh-huh.
So it's a doable, bigger center console. It's very doable. It's this area they call it the horseshoe mound or an east lump. It's west of us, but it's east side of Venice, Louisiana. And it's just this. It's like 220 foot of water. It's this natural, bottom that they tunas come to right before they spawn. So it's a lot of big fish, 150 to 200 pound fish. And it's a lot of fun if you can get out there and catch those things. A lot of times they just drift and chunk on top of those mounds and catch these tuna fish.
That's cool. What's going on in your area?
So back over this way, we've been getting offshore a little bit. It's been mostly vermilion snapper fishing, but starting on March 1st, we get to catch our one trigger fish per person. So that's always a good bonus. With the other bottom fishing, you're going to catch some trigger fish, and it's good to be able to keep a couple to bring back with you to eat because they're excellent eating. But currently, we're still at one per person at 15 inches over this way. So that's just a little bonus to add to the little mix of vermilion snappers we've been catching. And then back inshore fishing, it's just been a little bit of the same. Sheephead still not hot and heavy yet, but we're still picking away at them, catching a few around the bridge pilings, scraping the pilings, fishing with crabs and live shrimp. And then also catching a couple by our pass, but it's more like go out there and catch 2 or 3 instead of you're not going to catch 10 right now, but you can definitely make a day out of picking away a few sheephead.
Oh, outstanding. That's a great report. I'm supposed to ask you if there's any places around your area to fish without a boat, but you're right there at the world famous Nosara Pier where they've caught how many sailfish?
Oh, they caught a bunch in Pensacola Pier, Nosara Pier, Fort Walton Pier. We catch an amazing amount of fish off our piers, and And, you know, to answer that question that you had asked, you know, where would you go for the fish fryer or whatever, you know, our piers are excellent. You know, starting in a couple of weeks, there's, you know, Spanish mackerel, there'll be pompano running. You can catch, you know, king mackerel. We catch cobias and tarpons and sailfish and blackfin tunas and mahi-mahis and all kinds of stuff. So our piers are excellent fishing starting in the springtime.
Wasn't it just a couple weeks ago they caught like 24 blackfin tuna off of the piers?
Yeah, yeah. They caught over 20 blackfins, and these are, you know, 15 to 18, 20-pound blackfins, and they're still picking away a few. You know, it doesn't normally last that long, but I heard a report a kayaker out there by Navarre Pier just caught one yesterday. So there's still some of them blackfins running down the beach, and they're definitely staying down there towards the Navarre area.
A big blackfin in a kayak. He might have hooked that fish on Tuesday, Tyler.
Yeah, he might have, and he took a sleigh ride. So
that's about right. Hey, buddy,
our piers are excellent.
We appreciate the report so much. Sounds like things are starting over there for the spring. I know you can't wait. We'll look forward to talking with you next week if that's okay.
We'll see you, Rick.
Captain Tyler Massey, and that puts a wrap on our trip around the state tonight. It was a lot of fun. You know, there were places I thought fishing would be better. I thought down in the around the Space Coast, we'd be hearing a lot about cobia. I thought we'd be hearing that from Stewart. Hadn't really started yet. Triple tail, maybe running a little late, but it's been a little bit colder this year. We'll see. Unusually, there's been an unusual supply of dolphin mahi that have shown up off of northeast Florida in Jacksonville. They seem to be lost. We'll find out what happens next week. This week's Florida Sportsman Action Spotter was brought to you by Yamaha. Reliability starts here. By Shimano, bringing people and nature together. By Tournament Master Chum. That's the best chum on earth. By Nosara Paradise Rentals, your dream vacation. By D.O.A. Lures, the unfair advantage. And by Young Boats. You want the finest in flat spay and offshore hybrids? You need to check out youngboats.com. Until next week, for Florida Sportsman Action Spotter, I'm Captain Rick Riles. God bless, and we'll see you on the river.